The greatest game of football ever.
I'd agree.
He just comes alive. He's like an absolute magician. You know what he's like? He's like David Silva on steroids. That's what he is.
I gave you the opportunity after that game to change your mind. You went, no.
No.
That's only because he's stubborn.
Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football. I'm Gary Lineker, and joining me in our front three are Alan Shearer and Micah Richards, who'll be playing obviously comfortably out of position. How's your week? How's your day?
Pretty boring, my day, to be honest.
It's about to improve then.
Yeah, of course. This is the thing I looked forward to the most, Gary.
Alan, you're always busy.
I'm always busy, Gary.
On a golf course somewhere.
I'm always working, you know that. I had a good day with Mr. Pochettino yesterday, so I was going through everything today, what he said and what he didn't say, and that's coming out soon. So yeah, I've had a busy day as well.
What about you, Gary? What about you?
I've had a busy day. I was modelling for Next, and I don't mind giving them a mention. I mean, David Gandy, eat your heart out, you know. I was doing it
on the catwalk, Micah.
And we did it at a beautiful place. We did it at a beautiful place called Haileybury School. I don't know whether you've heard of it. And Clement Attlee went there. And do either of you know who he played for?
No.
I'm not guessing, no.
You know? No idea?
No.
He played for the Labour Party, and he was the Prime Minister of our country from 1945 to 1951 after the Second World War. I mean, come on, lads.
This is the rest is football, not the rest is politics.
Exactly. Let's stick to football, shall we? What are we going to talk about today? Well, there are lots of things that I'd like to cover. I want to reflect a little bit on the Mason Greenwood story, of course, and could Manchester United have possibly handled it any worse? I mean, it's a very difficult one. It's a very sensitive subject. But Manchester United, Alan, didn't really cover themselves in glory with this one. They've not. I mean, they were going to bring him in and then tested the water a little bit, and they were getting some bad feedback, particularly and understandably, of course, from their women fans as much as anything else. And then they seemed to do a U-turn, and then they put out statement. And Mason Greenwood put out a statement, and in the Manchester United statement, it sort of said at one point, "Well, we can't really believe all this stuff was true."
Yeah, I think it's been handled terribly from their side. I think the length of time that it took to then leaking it out last week that they were thinking of bringing him back into the fold, Mason Greenwood, and then seeing and hearing the reaction that got, they then had to suddenly change their mind. And then, as you say, the wording of the statement, I thought was all pretty embarrassing also. But when I look at Manchester United at this moment in time, you look at the lack of the leadership. You've got half of the family, or some of the family, wanting to sell, some of the others not wanting to sell. They put the club up for sale not so long ago, or a while ago now, and then had a deadline for people to come in and have their offers. I mean, so from that point of view, the lack of leadership at the very top, and then of course when that statement came out the other day. No, I thought it was very poor on their half, and there was a complete lack of leadership.
Micah, what do you think? Where do you think this leaves possibly Mason Greenwood anyway? Because he's obviously an incredibly talented young man. Everyone heard that tape, didn't they? It's still available on social media. But has he got a future? Can he repair it? Can he come out and talk about these things and learn from what is not a mistake, but worse than that?
You know, when we talked about actually even speaking about this situation, it's very difficult because you have to be so careful in which you use your words. I think everyone deserves a chance to be rehabilitated. I actually do believe that. I think the victim in question also needs all the support that she can get also. But it's such a difficult situation. I always put the question to myself, if I was in a changing room while something like this happened, how would I react? And my answer would be, I don't know how I would react, because it's so difficult. I've been in situations with someone very close to me who's been in a situation exactly like this.
Of a domestic abuse.
Of a domestic abuse, and not just once or twice. It went for a period of time. So I know how, someone very close to me feels about this sort of thing. I think the question he asked, what next is for him, I think he needs to go and sort of learn about what domestic violence is, how it affects so many people across the world, not just this country, and try and make a difference and put himself in the eyes of that person and try and move forward. But I always believe people deserve second chances. Like, we know the recording that we heard was horrible. It was disgusting, and it's very difficult to actually listen to it. But I do believe people deserve second chances.
As long as they correct themselves.
Of course.
I'd be amazed if there was a place for him at the moment in football in this country. I would think he's going to have to go abroad to wherever to start that. And I think it was also sort of telling that in terms of finance for the football club, for Manchester United, is that they haven't sacked him. Maybe there's a reason that they haven't sacked him.
Because of his value, probably, or maybe because he's still got some time in his contract, and if they sack him, they might have a employment issue or something. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also guess, and it is a guess, is that another reason is that he's still got contract. So they may be thinking if they give him away for free, they might be wanting a sell-on clause in the future. I don't know. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at when you talked about how it's been handled. Again, that's another sort of case of things being handled badly. So basically, the reason why they still own the what's the correct word for it? The registration of the player is because what Man United will want to do will put him on loan somewhere. Hopefully, in their eyes, he will do well, keep the value at whatever the market value is, and then potentially sell him. When really, okay, if you've mutually agreed, why don't Man United just pay him out of his contract? That's the easiest thing to do.
But it doesn't protect their asset as far as they're concerned, I suppose. And also if they were actually considering, which I thought was remarkable, that he could come back into the squad under this situation, they're trying to, I suppose they're trying to get as much out of this asset that they still have going ahead, however wrong you may feel.
That's clearly what they did, though, wasn't it? They leaked that last week, and to see the response that it was going to get, and the response was so bad.
But shouldn't they have predicted that, really?
Absolutely. Then that goes down to, one, how long it took, and two, for them then to leak it out to see the response. And it was clear the response it was going to get, and then they had to sort of backtrack and change their mind.
Okay, let's move on to something else. And it's not, it is dissimilar, but in some ways you can, I think, draw comparisons with, and that's the Rubiales incident with Hermoso at the end of the game after they'd won the World Cup. And he hugged the players and he kissed Hermoso on the lips, it was extraordinary, wasn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I did find it incredibly strange that he did that. I understand that everyone's euphoric because of the situation and that they're in and winning the World Cup, but for then him having or doing that, kissing one of the players on the lips, was incredible.
Weird, wasn't it? Strange.
Very
it
strange.
Was weird. I mean, there's so many ways you can celebrate. You don't need to kiss someone, do you?
And FIFA have opened an investigation, haven't they?
They have, and also there's an extraordinary general meeting about this issue with Rubiales, the Spanish, obviously, Federation's president, tomorrow when they'll discuss the Hermoso incident. I suspect he might lose his job. That most of the male Spanish players have been quiet, but there's a couple of them are now voicing their angst against Rubiales, Isco being one and Iglesias being another. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with me, Gary Lineker, Micah Richards and Alan Shearer. I want to talk about Messi. I quite like talking about Messi.
Really?
No secret about
Oh,
that. Did you not know? He's given me, I don't know, almost 2 decades of incredible joy watching him play the beautiful game, most beautifully of all, in my opinion. He's gone to America, and yes, we know it's a little bit like the alternative place to go for old footballers at the moment rather than Saudi Arabia. But his performances, I know it's against players that are not at the level that he would have played against previously, not quite as strong, but it's far from a Mickey Mouse league. It's been building in recent years. I mean, he's already won a trophy. He's gone past Dani Alves as the most decorated footballer in history. Another 2 assists he got on Wednesday night. One a ridiculous pass in the final minute to go extra time. We've seen him bending amazing free kicks, scoring goals from outside the box. He really is an extraordinary footballer, isn't he?
There was no way into my area doing any of that without him. I mean, he's elevated them to a different level. They're in a different game now with him there. Wherever they go now, the following is huge because of Lionel Messi. I mean, he's just, my word, incredible.
Well, the amazing thing is when he arrived at Inter Miami, they were rubbish. They were like bottom of the league, and now they're the best team there. It's an extraordinary turnaround. I mean, obviously they've also got Jordi Alba and Busquets. They've got the old band together.
That helps. Come on, that helps.
Well, it helps a lot, but
He's the game changer.
He's more than a game changer. I mean, I've watched him play for 20 years almost, with utter bemusement and constant bafflement at the extraordinary things he does on a football pitch. And that's why, for me, I've always said I think he's the best of all time, because he does things that other players can't do, or they do once in a blue moon. He'll do 4 or 5 things in a game that I wasn't capable of doing in one match in my entire career.
Micah, at his age, just let him carry on. At his age, he's got to get his kick and his pleasure from somewhere.
Absolutely,
it doesn't
Alan.
happen very often. So let's keep on listening to Gary getting excited and
Very little
eulogised.
else arouses me these days, Alan. Anyway, do you not get pleasure out of watching the little man play, Micah?
He's an extraordinary talent. And I think, for me, he was always the best. I've always said Messi's the best, but when he won the World Cup, it cemented it. And we're talking about great games. The World Cup final in Qatar, I was doing it for radio, and I was just in amazement of, he would literally walk around as soon as the game goes into the attacking half. He just comes alive. He's like an absolute magician. You know what he's like? He's like David Silva on steroids. That's what he is. He's got absolutely... The only thing in his game that he maybe could improve was his heading, but he doesn't need to. Watching him is a genius. And of course you had the whole thing with Mbappe scoring a hat-trick, but it was like it was written in the stars for Messi. He's definitely the best.
I think that's brilliant, that thing about heading. There is not another country in the world that would say that other than in Britain. No one would say he can improve his heading, mate. And he should kick it into row H occasionally.
Oh, wait, how many goals, Alan, were headers? Come on.
56, I think.
Exactly. So what's that?
56, he actually knows.
I'm guessing, but it's around that. Something
To
like
the
that.
nearest 10.
Only because Crouchy broke that record, I think, did he? Most headed goals.
In the Premier League.
Yeah.
I scored a lot of headers. I know. I'm not joking, Mike. I think I've definitely scored more headers for England than any other player.
How many?
I think 16.
Hang on, you just thought about me fucking counting my headed goals. Listen to you.
Well, I make no secret of the fact. I think 15 or 16 for England, and I don't think the only person I think that could probably beat that is one of the real old timers that I don't know much about. Anyway, I boast away. It's the only thing I've got over Messi. The only thing.
Going back to Messi and Argentina in the World Cup, can you remember the first game? Because I actually said before
Saudi Arabia.
Argentina were going to win the World Cup, and then the first game, Saudi Arabia. Oh, my word.
I gave you the opportunity after that game to change your mind. You went, no. One of your better decisions in life, Alan.
That's only because he's stubborn.
Yes, well said, Micah. That's a good point.
He certainly is. He's going to win another Ballon d'Or, isn't he? Even at his grand old age. I think it's the end of October. Well, I know it is because I think I'm presenting an award. Not that one to him. I think the top goal scorer one, but. He's very strong favourite because they've changed the timing of it, and it's they're going to bring in the fact of the World Cup is part of it.
Oh
so
my! They've changed the timing.
They announced that before the World Cup last year that they were going to do that because they wanted to take in the World Cup, and I think that's probably the right thing to do. I mean, in that final, that was the wonderful. I know we're reminiscing a bit here, but we can do what we want. We can do what we want. But the Mbappe Messi, it was built up before, and we all thought, I'll probably end up a damp squib. But blimey, to score a hat-trick and not win.
I know.
And then for Messi to score 2 goals, and then the penalty, and that extra time.
Martinez save.
Oh, the Martinez save, and then the other Martinez missed the header, didn't he, at the other end, a sitter. And it was just the most extraordinary 30 minutes, that extra time. I think probably the greatest game of football ever.
I do. I agree.
For what happened. But, I mean, you could say the first 80 minutes was it was a routine 2-0 victory for Argentina. Messi was going to realise his dream of lifting the one trophy that he hadn't lifted. And then Mbappe decided differently, didn't he? And it's magnificent.
Can I just ask, sorry, before we move on, how highly do you rate Mbappe? Because I think after Messi, I think he's the one. I know Haaland scores a lot of goals, but Mbappe, I just think he's got everything.
Absolutely, he's already a superstar. I mean, the things he's done at his age, I think he's more of a kind of Brazilian Ronaldo kind of player than a Messi or a Maradona. But the way he stops and starts, it's just fantastic. He scores goals. His pace is electric.
Horrible to play against, wouldn't he?
Oh, Micah, you'd have been your worst nightmare, wouldn't it, as a fullback on the right?
Oh, I'd had an absolute stinker against Mbappe.
Oh, you've played against him?
No, I would have. Oh. No, I haven't played it.
He would have had a stinker against anyone, Gary.
Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. You not remember when he burst on the scene? Maybe you forgot.
Did I remember when I burst off the scene?
Yeah. Right. Did you see, and I'll tell people, the Malaga fans. Now, Malaga is a football club in Spain, of course, but their fans are so fed up with the lack of investment into their team and the lack of new players and no signings at all in the transfer window, that a group of fans, a load of the Malaga fans, went to the airport and welcomed some random people coming through the airport as though they're a new signing, and they're singing songs. And you saw, I sent it to you both to have a look at.
I hadn't seen it, Gary, until you had sent it through to me. It was bloody brilliant, it was. I mean, I was actually sat there watching it, giggling away. My shoulders were giggling away. I think it's a brilliant response. It's fantastic.
The funniest part for me is when they give the mic to him and they want him to say stuff in Spanish. I don't know no Spanish. And then he just starts singing some random word. It was excellent.
Yeah, it was amazing how many of the people they picked on took it in such good spirit and started singing and pretending that they were players, and they seemed to get the gist of it really quickly.
Superb.
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful. The Bellingham brothers.
Oof.
We've already talked about Jude Bellingham, obviously. I mean, the way he's impacted Real Madrid is quite unbelievable. He's almost their leader already. He's still a young boy. His brother also scored 2 goals for his team at the weekend for your favourite club, Alan, Sunderland.
We shouldn't be surprised about Jude, though, should we? I mean,
No.
Because the number of times, despite his young age, that we've said how mature he is, how he takes everything in his stride, how he looks at. I mean, when he first went into the England team, we were saying the same thing, and now it's happening at one of, if not the biggest club in the world, in Real Madrid, and it seems as if he's 28-year-old experience, been around for so many years, and just the way he's handling it is magnificent.
I'm so excited by the prospect of. I mean, obviously I was a Barcelona player, and we don't really like Real Madrid when you're at Barcelona. But the fact that we England have a player that's on at one of the world's biggest clubs and he's absolutely bossing it is quite remarkable. It's very exciting for England, though, Micah, isn't it? Because, we look at the players that England have got now, and they're coming through, and with him, even at the helm in the World Cup, he was magnificent. And he's only going to get better, and he's experienced over there. And when you think of the likes of the midfield that England could have,
yeah, you know what? I think the management has been key, though. So when he got the number retired at Birmingham, everyone was laughing at it. And then it goes to Dortmund, where the pressure's off him a little bit. If he was in England at that time, at one of the big clubs, I think he would have had too much pressure. And then he's decided
I think he loves pressure.
Yeah, but I believe that it helped him because he was we watch all football, but not everyone gets to watch, football abroad. So it was sort of out of sight, out of mind. People would only see him really in the Champions League and like, wow. And then he goes to Real Madrid. And I just think the timing of his moves have just been brilliant. Like, I think someone like Foden now, where we've been saying he's a superstar for so many years. And I don't want to compare the two. It's only because you answered about the midfield.
Well, they're different players.
Yes, but he's at Man City where he sort of had to play out of position. And now, with De Bruyne out, with Bernardo Silva out a little bit, with Mahrez we've gone as well, it's a time for him to show everyone that he's at that, I won't say elite level, but on the way up until that elite level. And I think why Bellingham has thrived so much is because of the timing of the moves. And long may it continue.
I think I'd totally agree with that, Micah. The management of him in terms of making the decisions when and how to go, because he had other huge options, of course, when he was leaving Birmingham. He sat down with Sir Alex, didn't he? And they tried to get him to Manchester United. So for them to say, no, this is what he's going to do. It's a strategic move. And it worked perfectly. And then for him to do as well as he did at Dortmund, then that next move to take him to the elite, I think it's worked out so well for him. So the management of that has been superb.
He's also he gets to be a club of that magnitude, and I was going to mention it before about the fact, because when we were talking about the Malaga fans and the arrival of new players, and I remember you at Newcastle, didn't you get like a tumultuous welcome at St James's Park?
Alan? It was incredible, and it was pouring rain. I don't know what was there, 17,000, 18,000 outside the stadium. You've
got a big family.
It was incredible. Yeah, I'll never ever forget that. Them all standing out in the rain on that afternoon. It was amazing.
I remember it. The picture.
Yeah,
you was like that, wasn't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, when we're back, it had the black and white top on. Mike,
you see, I do remember.
Well done. How old were you then? 1996.
Ooh, I was 8.
You have to spoil a good night, don't you?
Oh dear. I remember the thing at Barcelona, and they do a thing called presentación, where they present the new players at the new camp, and all I could think of was please don't ask me to juggle the frigging ball, please. Because you know what I mean, Alan.
Unbelievable. I shit at that. I could only do 10, and I'm thinking, I used to think about that, people at Barcelona and Real Madrid, when they made it keep them up in front of 70,000 or 80,000. Petrified I'd have been.
I was exactly that. I walked onto the pitch and Mark Hughes, we'd signed together and we were going out. There were 65,000 people in the stadium to watch a training session, and we were the 2 new signings, and I was thinking, don't make me do keepy uppies. And in the end, I was thinking, if they do, I'm just going to pick it up once and wallop it in the crowd. Have it! This is English football for you. We're here.
Just chuck the ball to Mark Hughes, let him keep it up instead. Oh, God.
But just please, now that we've mentioned it, when you get a spare minute, just go on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, or Google, and just type in Barcelona presentations or Real Madrid of people failing to do kick-ups. It's one of the funniest things.
I've seen it.
Oh, Dembele is funny. He starts kicking it up and then he just starts skipping.
That would have been me and Gary doing that. Keep it up.
I was never really good at keepy uppies. I mean,
why? Well, you don't need to be whenever you do that in a game.
I know. Oh dear. Would have been embarrassing. Right, looking ahead to the weekend. Alan, big game again for Newcastle. Liverpool are in town.
Yeah, big game at St James's. Liverpool did the double over Newcastle last year. If you remember, Nick Pope got sent off, didn't he? That cost him that game in the League Cup final because he was suspended. But I thought Newcastle did all right. The game against Man City last weekend without having a real threat. But it's at St James's Park. It'll be absolutely rocking the atmosphere. And I fancy them to cause Liverpool problems because I'm not convinced defensively that Liverpool have got it right just yet. But it'll be a tough game. But I think they might nick it.
Micah, Manchester City, well, they've got a new signing, Jeremy Doku, which was surprised a few people, I think. We saw him, didn't we, a couple of years ago, was it in the Euros, where he came on and did exceptional things. But no Pep. No Pep. He's got a back injury. So, Pep, if you're listening in Barcelona and recovering, we wish you a speedy and full recovery and get back in the dugout
Can you say that in Spanish? Go on, say it in Spanish.
Say what?
What you just said, speedy recovery. Have you got that?
Yeah, of course I can.
Come on, and then I'll send it to him.
Espero que recuperas muy rápido.
Micah, you could be saying any sort of shit there and we wouldn't have a clue.
Absolutely. I just said Micah shit at keepy uppies. So, do you think it will make a difference not having Pep on the sidelines?
That's a very good question. I think the players will play with a little more freedom. I think the difference in having Pep there and not is between potentially winning and losing in the big games. You know, when you need the little tactical tweaks and he's basically just saying, no, going too far or push up. So I think in the big games, no disrespect to the Premier League, I think they can cope without Pep. If it was playing Real Madrid or Barcelona tomorrow, I think they would miss him.
Neither of you are doing Match of the Day tomorrow night, are you?
No, we're both on Sunday, actually. We just turn up for the big games, and the big game's Newcastle-Liverpool.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's good for you to drop into the reserves.
I'm not laughing now. I'll get in trouble if I laugh at that.
It's only a joke, Micah.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. You'll be fine. Great stuff. Thank you very much. That's it for today. We'll be back on Monday to discuss all the weekend's big talking points. Anyway, if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. That way you won't miss a show. We've enjoyed all your wonderful comments so far. They're very kind and you seem to be enjoying it. We certainly are. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from Big Meeks.
Goodbye from Big Al.
Cheers.